They say the music industry runs on talent, but if you've been around long enough, you learn the truth. It runs on secrets, the kind whispered behind studio walls, buried under NDAs, protected by power. Jamie Foxx knew how to navigate that world until he saw something he wasn't supposed to. A room, a ritual, a deal you don't come back from the same. Then, just months later, he took a pill and vanished into a coma. No warning, no explanation, just 20 days of silence. What happened to him isn't a theory. It's something I saw, up close. And I wish to God I hadn't. Because once you know what's hiding behind the music, you never listen the same again. I wasn't a bodyguard. I wasn't a friend. I wasn't even important, if I'm being honest. My name didn't matter, and I preferred it that way. I was just the guy behind the lens, the one hired to document Jamie Foxx's life when the lights weren't on. Capture the sessions, the parties, the raw footage that no one else would ever see. He used to tell me, just keep rolling, man. Don't ask questions. If I fart and hit a high note, I want it on tape. So I rolled. I stayed out the way. I filmed it all. Jamie's world was different from the industry machine. He was magnetic, charming, chaotic in the best way, and always grounded. His parties weren't about image. They weren't for cameras or headlines. They were about energy. And somehow, even with a ragtag team and a budget that wouldn't feed a music video crew, he still pulled in A-listers. Snoop, yeah, Alicia. People came because they wanted to, not because they were told to. That's the kind of pull Jamie had. And for a while, that world was golden, until Diddy came back. They used to run together, Jamie and Diddy. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were part of this tight circle, a kind of rat pack of black celebrity royalty. You saw them on red carpets, at clubs, in blurry TMZ shots with women and cigars and glittering watches. They were the moment. But that era faded. People grew up or away. Jamie hadn't mentioned Diddy in years. So when he showed up, uninvited, at a private rooftop party Jamie threw in the hills, something in me tightened. I was filming as usual, staying back in the shadows. Jamie had his God Mode playlist going, Al Green, Maxwell, a little Curtis Mayfield. Everyone was sipping red wine in thrift store glasses, laughing under string lights, barefoot on hardwood, real, warm. Then Diddy arrived. 3 black Escalades, no warning, no entourage, just presence. He walked in like a ghost of a better past, dressed in all white, shades on even though it was past midnight. The music didn't stop, but it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Conversation stalled, heads turned. Jamie stood up. They hugged, and then the smiles dropped. They talked off to the side for about 15 minutes. I kept my camera aimed away, but I watched them. Watched how Jamie's shoulders stayed tight even as he nodded, laughed, sipped from a solo cup. When Diddy left, he looked over at me and said, "Keep capturing him. This man's got the light." I didn't say anything. Jamie didn't either, not that night. The next morning, he told me Diddy invited us both to his private estate. Just a walkthrough, he said. No cameras, just a vibe check. The drive out was long, past Hollywood, past Calabasas, into the part of the canyon where cell towers stop trying and the roads feel like they were carved by whispers. The mansion wasn't on any map. You wouldn't know it existed unless someone sent you there. The gate opened without a word, like it was expecting us. Inside was all silence and symmetry. The air was so clean it felt dead. The staff didn't speak. They just nodded. Eyes forward, black clothing, the kind of blank expressions you only find in 2 places, military compounds and cult documentaries. Diddy met us in the marble foyer. His smile was bright, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Glad you came." He led us through a hallway that felt too long for the size of the house. No doors, no windows, just red velvet walls that seemed to absorb sound. At the end, An arched black door with no handle. It opened on its own. Inside, a chamber, dimly lit, velvet-lined, candles in bronze holders. And in the center, on a pedestal, was a massive book. The cover was thick, uneven. It wasn't leather. It was skin. "I call it the Necronomicon," Diddy said. "It's older than America. Older than the idea of America." Jamie stared at the thing. Didn't speak. Diddy circled it like a preacher. Said he didn't find the book. It found me. Said it whispered things when the candles were right. Things about power, about pleasure, about unlocking the world beneath the world. The parties, he said, are its door. And we are the best at it. It says so in the book. Then he turned to Jamie. "You're my mirror. We have the gift. You bring the light, I bring the shadow. Together, we could open something eternal." Jamie forced a chuckle. "This some Lovecraft type shit?" Diddy didn't blink. "Number. This is real." He opened the book. The pages were hand-scribed, symbols, stains, and names in a language that didn't feel written so much as summoned. Some pages looked scorched, others looked wet. Jamie shifted. I could tell he wanted to leave, but Diddy kept talking. He spoke about his friend. Not a demon, not a man. Something else. A force. The true spirit of the industry. He lives in the music, in the lights, in the cameras. He watches. And when he chooses, you don't say no. Diddy placed his hand on Jamie's shoulder. "Help me see him again." Jamie didn't answer. He just looked at me. That was the first time in years I saw fear in his eyes. "Diddy, just think on it." We left the mansion without speaking. The car ride back felt like it took hours, even though the GPS said 37 minutes. Jamie sat in the passenger seat, arms crossed, staring out the window like he was watching something only he could see. I didn't say a word. Neither did he. The trees on the way down looked different, thinner somehow, like their trunks were stretched, peeled of bark, hollow. Even the moonlight looked staged, as if someone above was shining a spotlight through a filter just to keep the road visible long enough for us to leave. When we pulled up to his place, Jamie didn't invite me in. No handshake, no joke, no good night, just a nod, barely a tilt of his chin, eyes locked on the pavement. He walked through the gate with his head down and never looked back. I stayed outside longer than I should have. The house didn't look the same. Not darker, just dimmer. Like someone had taken the concept of a soul and turned the brightness down. Even the porch light flickered slower than I remembered. The next morning I showed up like always. No knock, no fanfare. I had a key and we had a rhythm, or we used to. Jamie didn't say hello. He didn't say anything. He was already awake, seated at the kitchen island in the same black hoodie from the night before. No TV, no music, just scrolling his phone. When I set up my rig and started filming, he didn't even glance at me. I followed him through the motions, coffee, toast, emails, pacing his office, but he never looked up. It felt like I was filming a ghost, like something else was wearing his skin and didn't care who was watching. When I finally broke and asked about the book, he didn't flinch. I asked about Diddy. He stood up and left the room. I stopped recording. That night, I uploaded the footage to my drive, habit more than anything. Nothing stood out on first watch. Just silence and slow motions. But when I wore headphones to scrub through the timeline, there was something under the room tone. Low, ragged, rhythmic, breathing. Not mine, not Jamie's. It was like someone else had been sitting right next to the microphone the entire time, watching, waiting. 2 days passed. No change. Jamie barely ate, barely moved. Then the box arrived. No delivery truck, no knock, no tracking label. Just sitting there on the porch like it had grown from the concrete. Jamie opened it without a word. Inside was a small handheld speaker, neatly wrapped in red velvet. It looked vintage, polished black casing, silver grill, no buttons, no wires, just a folded piece of cream paper underneath, torn from something older. In red ink, someone had written, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party." That was it. No signature, no joke. Jamie didn't laugh, didn't curse, didn't even blink. He just stared at the speaker like it was going to blink first. I asked him if he was okay. He didn't respond. That night, around midnight, the landline rang. Jamie hadn't used that phone in years. We didn't even know it was still plugged in. The ringer was low and distorted, like it was coming from another room underwater. It rang once, stopped, rang again. Jamie picked it up, didn't say a word, just listened. No voice answered, no static, just his own laugh, played back at half speed, low, drawn out, alien. It sounded wrong, like someone trying to impersonate him while slowly drowning. It went on for 45 seconds. Then the line clicked off. Jamie stood in the hallway for a long time after that, just holding the receiver. I didn't film it. I don't know why. The next morning I came over and found him dressed already. Black jacket, dark sunglasses, shoes polished. He was pacing the tile floor in the kitchen like it owed him an explanation. When I asked what he was doing, he didn't answer. I powered on my camera. He didn't react. Finally, he stopped pacing. I said yes. My hands froze on the lens controls. To what? Jamie didn't look at me, just tightened the strap of his watch. The party, we're going. When? Couple nights from now. Jamie, listen. He cut me off. Soft voice, no emotion. You'll want your camera. He walked past me and out onto the deck. For the first time in days, I saw his reflection in the sliding glass door. And I swear to God, it blinked half a second too late. I don't know what I expected when we pulled up to the party, but it wasn't this. No music, no lights, no sound spilling out into the street. The kind of quiet that made your ears ring. There were no valets or event staff, no buzz of anticipation. Just that same gate from last time, opening without us asking, without anyone verifying we belonged. It rolled open slowly, like it had forgotten how. Like it was giving us time to make a decision we didn't realize was ours. Jamie didn't speak the entire drive. He hadn't spoken much since the box arrived, since the laugh on the phone, since the day he looked at me and said, "We're going to Diddy's party." He said it like it wasn't a choice, like something had already decided for him. The mansion looked different now, stripped. All the signs of life were gone. It had no warmth, no hospitality, no ego. It looked like a church that had lost its congregation and turned inward, cold, ceremonial, heavy with memory. Even the air inside was thicker, not smoky, not humid, just full, like it had absorbed every whispered confession from every party and was holding its breath for one more. There were people inside, big names, the kind you didn't expect to see without headlines and handlers, faces that once sold out stadiums, faces from red carpets, album covers, streaming thumbnails. But no one danced, no one posed, no one even acknowledged us. They stood in small clusters, whispering too softly to hear, like they were swapping secrets no one actually wanted to know. And in every room, cameras, not hidden, not bold, just there, in corners, in sconces, mounted into door frames, watching, not security, not performance, documentation. Diddy emerged from upstairs like a priest descending to deliver last rites. No flash, no theatrics, midnight black suit, crisp, clean, no chains, no sunglasses, no smile until he saw Jamie. His eyes hadn't blinked. I mean that literally. They didn't glisten, didn't flinch, just stared like they were already preloaded with memories. He smiled with his mouth, not his face. "My brother, you came." Jamie nodded once. Blank, detached. Diddy turned to me. "And the lens. Of course, can't create without memory." He didn't shake my hand, didn't say my name, just walked past us with a subtle wave. "Come, I want to show you something private." He led us down a hallway I swear hadn't existed before. It curved left, like a spine curling in on itself. Each step we took made the lights behind us dim. I turned once, only once. And I swear the hallway behind us was gone. The house wasn't built for us to leave. At the end of the hall, a single door, matte black, no handle. Diddy pushed it open like it weighed nothing. The room beyond was dark, but not empty. There was one red light, blinking, constant, mounted on the ceiling in the corner, a camera, not an ordinary one. This thing looked engineered, heavy, armored, like something from a military bunker, like it was meant to record people who were never supposed to be remembered. No chairs, no altar, just four walls, shadow, and that blinking light. Diddy stood in the doorway and whispered, "He's here." I didn't ask who. Jamie didn't either. Diddy stepped forward and said, "He watches through the lens. Recording is the ritual. You're already part of it." Jamie's jaw tightened. "You said this was a collaboration," he muttered. "It is," Diddy said smoothly. "You bring the light, I bring the gate, and he brings the offer." He stepped into the shadows again and returned with a briefcase. Silver, slim, sterile. He set it gently on the floor and clicked it open. "Standard NDA, 7 figures. You sign, you forget tonight. You never mention the book, the friend, the room. You walk away clean. Wealthier, safer." Jamie looked at it like it was a coffin. Not because of what it contained, but because of what it implied. He didn't ask how many people had signed one like it, but I did. "How many?" I said softly. Diddy looked at me for the first time, smiled. "Enough to keep the industry afloat." Jamie picked up the briefcase, didn't open it, didn't react. He just walked out of the room. We followed. No one stopped us. Not even Diddy. Out on the back patio, the same one that had once been filled with laughter, smoke, the scent of burnt champagne and half-melted caviar. Jamie paused at the pool's edge. It was silent, still, like a lake in winter. Jamie opened the briefcase, didn't read the contract, didn't touch the money. He just tipped the whole thing in. It hit the water with a muted splash that sounded louder than it should have. A sound the house didn't want to hear. And in that moment, something broke. The quiet in the house deepened, not empty, angry. Guests began leaving in unison, not rushed, not dramatic, just gone, one by one, like they'd all gotten the same silent notification at the same time. Jamie didn't look at me. He just turned, walked to the car, and got in. I followed. We didn't speak on the ride back. But when I woke up the next morning, my phone was buzzing like a hive, 8 missed calls, all from Jamie's agent. By the time I tried to call back, the number was already disconnected. That day, Jamie's name disappeared from 2 press tours. A film we'd shot promo for was suddenly moving in a new creative direction. His face, cut. I checked IMDb. His upcoming projects were gone. His Wikipedia page edited. Within hours, it was like he'd never existed. Later that night, I went to his place. He was standing in the driveway, alone, looking up at the sky like he was waiting for it to crack open. "It's not about fear," he said, still staring upward. "It's about absence." I didn't understand. He turned to me. "Once they pull your light, you stop casting shadows." I reached instinctively for my camera. Jamie didn't yell. He didn't plead. He just shook his head. "Not tonight." I lowered it. "Is he still watching?" I asked. Jamie nodded slowly, his face pale in the moonlight. "Always," he whispered, "especially when you stop recording." Jamie disappeared into silence. Not isolation. Silence. I still saw him sometimes, in the distance, at odd hours, walking alone near the reservoir, sitting in his car parked outside his own house, staring through the windshield like he was waiting for someone who used to live inside his body. I kept filming, but not for him. For myself, maybe. For the record. For proof that all of this was real. Because as the days passed, I started doubting everything, until he called me. It was 3 words. Burn the footage. No hello. No explanation. All of it, he said. Even the backups? I asked. He didn't respond, just hung up. That night, I deleted 3 years of hard drives, unplugged the RAID, dropped the external backups in a bucket of bleach, watched the cloud sync delete itself file by file like it knew it was dying. I still kept 1 SD card. I told myself I needed it. Just 1 shot, just 1 clip. But if I'm honest, I was already addicted to the ritual. In April 2023, the headlines dropped. Jamie Foxx, hospitalized after medical emergency. I didn't need the details, I already knew. I knew it wasn't a stroke. I knew it wasn't exhaustion. I knew it wasn't something a hospital could fix. He was filming a movie, ironically, a comedy, when it happened. Dropped mid-scene. Collapsed like a marionette whose strings were burned instead of cut. 20 days, no visitors, no statements, no answers, just a black hole where his name used to echo. When he finally woke up, I went to see him. I brought my camera. I don't know why. Security at the hospital didn't stop me. No one even looked at me, like I wasn't there, like they knew I'd been part of this longer than anyone realized. Jamie was in a private room, far corner of the floor, tubes in his arms, dry lips, eyes wide open, but not all the way in the room. I stepped inside. He blinked once, then again. Recognition returned to his face like heat after frost. "Still recording?" he asked. I lowered the lens. He chuckled, just once. "Doesn't matter now." We sat in silence for a while. The machines whispered and beeped. Then he said it, "I'm gonna play ball." I didn't respond. "My life's more important than the truth." He stared straight ahead. "This is the last time we speak." I wanted to ask him why. Why now? Why give up? Why survive just to surrender? But I didn't. Because part of me already knew. "You've seen the devil," he said. "We both have." He reached out his hand. We shook. His grip was weak, but the cold in it felt permanent, like he'd been touched by something colder than death. I turned to leave. But before I stepped out of the room, something pulled me back. Not a sound, not a movement, just a weight in the air that told me not to walk out just yet. I turned. Jamie was still in bed, still staring forward. But he wasn't alone. Standing in front of him between the bed and the window was Diddy. No hospital badge, no ID tag, just him. Standing there like he'd never left, like he belonged in that room more than the doctors did. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He just looked at me and smiled, wide, hollow, wrong. His eyes didn't blink. They just stared, straight through the lens, straight through me. I backed out of the room, never taking my eyes off him. And just before the door closed, I saw it. He waved, not at Jamie, at the camera. I never saw Jamie again, not in person. He went public months later, claiming all was well. Said he was better than ever, but the light was gone, not dimmed, extracted. Everything since then has been a performance, a role played by someone who remembers what it's like to feel alive but hasn't tasted it in years. People still talk about what happened. Most of them think it was medical. Some say it was stress. Some say it was fake. But I know better. I was there. I saw the book. I saw the camera. I saw the moment he said no, and I saw what followed. We said we'd never talk about the room again, but somehow, it always knows where to find us.